I was really interested to read that the Lakers are kind of in a position to make a move, but I have some questions. Would Kobe want both of those guys with him? I mean, wouldn't the spotlight be a lot more dim on Kobe if both of those guys show up?
Yeah, I get the question, but let me tell you, Kobe Bryant in the golden years of his career he just wants anyone to help. Okay, I mean, after what he saw last year and had to sit watching the Lakers have the worst season since they moved to Los Angeles. He wants anyone who can come here, and I think it's part of his legacy too, right? I mean, Kobe Bryant is sort of known as this guy who's been an alpha dog, who's been a lone wolf most of his career, and I think he needs to. That's the one thing he can change by accepting a new co-star who's not named Pau Gasol, right? Pau Gasol is sort of if a Kobe's the alpha, Pau's the beta. So, what better way to change the final narrative in your career than to go along with this? And I can tell you, having talked to Kobe about all of these scenarios for the last couple of years, like he's very close friends with Melo. He has a decent relationship with LeBron, not as close as he is with Melo, but I think he'd welcome both with open arms.
All right, now if they can make that work, who would be the coach?
Who cares?
Well, with LeBron, let me ask you that: would LeBron care?
Yeah, and that's that. As you said in the intro, that's why they're waiting, and that's why they have waited. I mean, it raised my eyebrows when Cleveland went out and hired David Blatt last week, because it was like, you waited long enough. Why don't you just wait another couple of weeks here so that you can offer that same carrot to LeBron or any of the free agents that you want to woo? I mean, that's what the Lakers do, though. I mean, the Lakers, that's what they're selling right now. You're selling Hollywood, you're selling star treatment. That's why you give Kobe Bryant that thank you present, of a contract last fall. It's not a good contract, but it's the message that they're trying to send with that type of contract is, we're the Lakers, we treat our stars well, and what do stars want right now? Pick your coach, and that's exactly why they've held this job open. I mean, the job is basically Byron Scott's for whenever they get around to signing him, if of any of the free agents that they go after or any trades they pursue don't work out, it's Byron Scott, but it's interesting. It's an interesting strategy, because the word I had gotten was they kind of called this from the beginning. From the minute Mike D'Antoni had resigned, the Lakers were in absolutely no hurry to hire a coach, because that's one of the carrots they can offer to these type of free agents that nobody else can.
Now, Ramona, in order to bring in both players at close to max, they'd have to get rid of Steve Nash's $9.1 million, and the only way to do that is to package that with the number 7 pick. Do you think that there'll be a bite there for that?
Well, it's not the only way to do it. It's just probably the best way of doing it, right? I mean, you could theoretically waive and stretch Nash also, and then $3 million is spread. Then the 9.7 is spread out over 3 years. But you really don't want any of that on your books for next year either. And so that's the preferable way, is to package it either with that whoever they take at number 7, or you be a facilitator. I mean, there's a lot of teams that are under the salary cap that can trade for Nash, and then just you assume they're going to buy him out, because I don't think Steve wants to play anywhere but Los Angeles. And they save a little money there. They create a trade exception. There's a lot of reasons why teams would take on a contract or a player like that without getting much in return. And the Lakers, quite frankly, even though they don't have a lot of assets to work with, when you're under the salary cap, when you have a large expiring contract like that, and you have a lottery pick, they can play facilitator in a lot of different scenarios. Like, let's say there's a sign and trade with Melo in New York. Let's say Melo wants to leave. Well, they can play a facilitator there. That's why they've tried to maintain as much flexibility as they have. Sometimes you do that and end up with nothing, and that's the fear. But it's better than being saddled with a bunch of contracts that you're trying to move, and that's why they've positioned themselves the way they have.
I know the Clippers have been very interested in LeBron James. Is there anything they can do to get into this sweepstakes?
Hey, where there's a will, there's a way. And it was funny. Brian Windhorst and I, we were talking to ourselves in the middle of the year, and he goes, the one thing I learned from LeBron in 2010 is never underestimate him, never count out, a crazy idea just because it seems like it's going to be hard to pull off. I mean, who would have thought the Heat would have been the option in 2010 if you had asked back in February of that year? I mean, the Cavs had done everything they could to get him surrounded with a good cast. I mean, your New York Knicks were positioning themselves as come play in the Garden. We're trading everyone to clear space for you, and we can do whatever you want us to do. And then all of a sudden, Miami and Pat Riley come in, somewhat by surprise. We forget that now that it was a bit of a surprise. Look, LeBron James and Chris Paul are really good friends. They are godparents to each other's children. They are in each other's weddings. They've always wanted to play together. And when LeBron was in Cleveland, he urged the Cavs to draft Chris Paul in the first round. They couldn't move up high enough in the draft to get him. But picture Doc Rivers in a room with him. Picture the idea of him playing with Chris Paul and Blake Griffin. And if you're LeBron James and you're looking at roster, not just team, of who you want to play with next, the Clippers are as well positioned as anyone to get him. And I know for a fact that if he were to leave Miami, this is the Los Angeles Clippers. They can find a way to get enough room to get him, or to make a trade where they do a signing trade in Miami. They are a very interesting destination.
Ramona Shelburne is our guest. She writes for ESPNLA.com. Before I let you go, 1 being the least likely, 10 being the most likely.
Okay.
Gut feeling, what number would you give both LeBron and Melo going to the Lakers?
So one is least likely?
Yes.
Let's give it a 1.5. I mean, look, I think it's a great idea that the Lakers have. I can't even picture what all three of them on the court would be like together. And they're the Lakers, so they think like that. They think big. But pulling things like that off in today's NBA is pretty tough. And I could see Melo wanting to come to LA. I don't know LeBron's appetite for that, playing alongside Kobe. I think he'd be more interested in playing alongside Chris Paul and Blake Griffin. So let's keep that in the category. Let's give him 1.5 just give him a little extra credit for thinking big.
Ramona, I'm curious, as somebody who covers this sport from the outside of New York, what has been the perception of the Knicks? Has it changed at all now that Phil Jackson has taken over?
Well, you're also talking to somebody who covered Phil in L.A., so I probably have a different perspective on everything than people around the country, because I come from a place of having covered the man for his titles here and his great run here, and I just kind of think Phil can do anything. I think that I don't worry about whatever might happen with Dolan, because Phil wins. Like, Phil wins every war that he is in. He wins every situation he is in. He's smart and he is savvy. He's ruthless. I mean, if he's not being allowed to do what he wants to do, you guys are going to have a lot to talk about on Sports Talk Radio, because he will not keep his mouth shut. So, I mean, there's just a part of me that says, I kind of believe. I don't know. Maybe I've just seen it happen too many times, where whatever Phil wanted to have happen, he made it happen one way or another, whether it was, painless or not.